My guest today is Sam Basu. Sam, how are you, my friend?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. It's always a pleasure to reconnect with you. We actually reconnected in person last week at Code Match, which was a treat. And I'm thinking about how we first met. It was, at least 15 years ago.
Yeah.
We worked together at a company, and we were on Ineta together, and we were part of the tech community together. We spoke at many of the same conferences over the years, and then like 2 years went by where we didn't see each other at all, which was tough.
Yeah, COVID happened, and things are getting back to normal. We are getting to be out and about in user groups and conferences. That's where we learn from each other.
Exactly. So the story kind of has a happy ending.
Yeah.
Let's tell me, what are you doing now?
Yeah, and again, like going back to when you and me first met and started working together, like how software development has evolved. And so let's talk about what I do and how things have changed. So I'm Sam Basu. I am a developer advocate at Uno Platofrm. So essentially, what we are is an open source stack for .NET developers to build a single source code app that just runs everywhere. So we take the .NET code and we can make it run natively on iOS or Android for mobile. We can do Windows, Mac OS, and Linux and embedded systems for desktop. And we can also take it to the web in the browser through WebAssembly. So all the places from a single shared code base.
Oh, awesome. Are you using this artificial intelligence thing that I've been hearing about?
Yeah, what is this thing? You and me might both remember like the early days of ChatGPT and how quickly things evolved. And again, for those of us who read up the history, this is nothing new. If you think about the core take of it, machine learning and artificial intelligence, how it has evolved, this has been around for 50 years, right?
Yeah, it feels like it's new because there's been so much hype the last
exactly.
And even your phrase, the early days of ChatGPT, that was just 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And how far we have come. It's just, while the core tech is about the same, deep learning and neural networks, it's just the amount of computing we are throwing at it. And what we're able to get out of AI is really eye-opening. To a point where, I would take a stab at saying, some things are not even worth doing anymore. Some development tasks are not worth doing it first time, at least by hand, because AI is just so much quicker, so much better. And there, of course, always has to be the human intervention, human in the loop. But, you look at agentic workflows and you look at the guardrails that we can put up, we can get really productive if we know the right things to ask and if AI has context.
I think we mentioned ChatGPT, and really we're talking about generative AI. That's where most of the hype is recently.
Yes.
The ability to generate something like code from a computer.
Yeah, and it's everything. It's natural language processing. So the AI system needs to understand what exactly we are asking of it, be it in voice or be it over text, break it down so that it can understand the intent of what we are asking. And then it can, on the return, it can generate stuff like you mentioned code, but it's actually very good at text. It's very good at, music and, other creative things, which, makes some people a little bit unhappy. There are some ethical concerns there and, what the large language models are learning on. But, we cannot resist because we can see how much, better and faster it can make us. So hopefully it automates the things that, we would rather have a computer do. But we humans still own the architecture. We own the bigger creative things.
All right. And let's talk a little bit about agents, because I know agents are an important part of that. Can we define what those are?
Yeah. So, sorry about that. So where we started was, like we said, ChatGPT, right? Those were essentially a front behind a language model. So these small or large language models are essentially huge computing systems, which can, they don't need supervised learning. They can go out on the internet and just learn code, learn facts, learn from anything that's out there, and then they make sense of it once you ask a question. So that was generative AI, and that's the large language model. Now, large language models by themselves have a few, shortfalls. Like they cannot do stuff for you. Like you cannot just ask it to send an email because it doesn't have any context of your personal needs and the context of what you're trying to do. So it's essentially a generative system that just responds to stuff. Like you always need to ask it something before it will respond. So AI agents now are a little bit more grown up. So they are, think of it like a bigger layer on top of one or more large language models. So AI agents come in a variety of shapes, and there are lots of people building AI agents, which are very fancy. Things like GitHub Copilot, Claude Code, Cursor. These are all agents that are helping developers write code. And each of these agents behind the scenes is using a language model of your choice, or sometimes it can be automatic. The large language models are the things like, GPT-5, 4, they're like Sonnet, they're like Opus, there are the Gemini. So those are the language models powering what the agents are doing. But think of an agent as more like an orchestrator. So it has access to the large language model to understand what exactly you wanted it to do. And then it has extra tools. Then it has extra, things and APIs, so it can actually pull off things for you. So when you have, for example, a Slack or a GitHub, hooks in there, the agent can actually do things for you, like send a message or check in some code.
So it's not just answering questions for you. It does have that power of understanding and responding in a natural language like English, but it actually can go beyond just answering questions. It can perform actions.
Exactly. It can actually do stuff.
And it understands the context of whatever you're working in, whether it's a Zoom call, whether it's a code base, whether it's a GitHub repository, or just even the concept of GitHub, I think.
Yeah. And these agents are increasingly starting to be quite autonomous, which means they can spin and iterate on their own without human intervention.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong? I saw a meme the other day where someone was talking about, how AI is just taking over and developers don't need to write code anymore as long as you give it the right requirements. So good luck with that, because that's the key of
I was thinking more about the singularity and the Terminators taking over the world.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Maybe putting too much faith in its ability to write good code is also a danger.
Yeah. No, we always have to check, what AI systems are generating. And in there lies how we provide more grounding, more context to AI. So it doesn't just
what?
Grounding is, saying, if I ask you to do something or if I ask you a question, yes, you have a lot of knowledge, but that knowledge might be time-stamped. You may have learned this thing 3 months back. How about, you have more things like skills, more tools, so you can go do a check based on what exactly, you're being asked to do, and validate and verify that what you're saying is really accurate based on everything that's out there right now. And you need those, system hooks to pull off those, tasks that, large language models cannot, but agents can on your behalf.
Okay, so an agent, it knows a lot about the context of the system that you've given it access to. For example, I use a tool called GitHub Copilot. It's inside of Visual Studio Code. It understands Visual Studio Code. It understands whatever code base I provided for it. But not much beyond that. And of course, it understands English or whatever language I'm speaking. Is there a way to extend that agent so it can perform actions actually outside of
you're almost setting it up as a segue. So this is where some of the latest tooling and standardization really helps. So there is this thing called Model Context Protocol, MCP in short. This is something Anthropic, as a company, the makers of Claude and other things, they started working on this as a standard, and now you have Microsoft and Google and everybody working on it because everyone sees the need for a standard. So these AI agents, they might be disparate systems, but they need a way, a common language, so they can talk to each other, and they can talk to languages, they can talk to specific models and specific areas of expertise. So what MCP does is essentially open up like an API layer. So the AI agent does not have to know everything from the get-go. If you're asking it to do something, it has specific tools, like for example from GitHub, from Figma, from Slack, or any other system that you can think of, where the agent doesn't have to do the task. It can actually delegate that task to a specific tool that knows exactly how to check in code, how to send a message. So those are the API bridges that we are building, so that it has more context of what exactly you're asking it to do. And this has very real implications for developers as we are coding. So you mentioned the GitHub Copilot. Yes, you're inside of Visual Studio. It knows the code base that you have open, but not much else. So what else can we do with it? So I work at Uno Platofrm, and we think about this quite a bit. Like, how can we make our AI a little bit more smarter and contextual in what it's doing? Mm-hmm. So what we have done is created some MCP servers. So one is dedicated to documentation. So when we ask something of AI, we do not want it to guess. Like, you may have heard of this term hallucination, which is where AI doesn't quite know what you're asking. So it's like the classic male ego. When you ask me something that I don't know, I cannot get myself to say I don't know. I would rather just make up stuff. So that's hallucination for AI.
What is it about men? We can't ask directions.
No, we cannot ask directions. This is we saying stop if you don't know something. Maybe there are tools out there who know more than what you do. So and this is a classic technique called RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So before you generate a response, why don't you go check these other things before you generate that, because that'll give you more confidence. So a classic use case is if you ask something about like documentation on anything, it will actually go look up the MCP tool that it has access to, and then say, oh, hold on, before I generate, I need to go check the docs, the latest docs. So what I generate for you is more something that you have more confidence in. So this is a classic way of grounding AI to say, don't just generate stuff. What you might know might be a little bit old. What you might not know are these tools. So use the experts that you have at hand so that you carry out the task more confidently.
Oh, okay. Actually, this sounds like my life and my career is that, just like an agent, I know what I know. I know what I've experienced directly. I know what I'm looking at right now. But I also know experts. Like if I wanted to talk about .NET and Maui and I've got questions about it, my knowledge that is limited, I know Sam. I'd call him and he would do that. And I think that metaphor works really well with these agents. They know what they know, but to get more information, like deep knowledge of documentation, they can call out to your MCP server.
Yeah, exactly. That is the point. So we have done a couple of things from a Uno Platofrm standpoint. One is we have an MCP server that knows how to create projects, how to set up everything, initialize everything, so you're on a happy path from the get-go. And it has the latest documentation. So it can, you ask it any questions, it can look up multiple docs pages and bring back what you need. So that's on just to make sure that the information you have is, contextual and grounded. But then as you start building up your app, you realize that you need some more, because the AI agents are spinning up, and GitHub Copilot or Claude or anything else, it's spinning up and trying to do its best because it's learning from other open source code on that framework that you have out there. So, let's say Uno Platofrm, you have a lot of code out there. It can learn, it can grok and do its best, but nothing like somebody who knows the app that you are building in the moment. So that's where we also have something called an app MCP. So that's a server that runs locally while your app is being built, and it's running behind the scenes, and it talks to the AI agent and it exposes 7 or 8 tools to say, by the way, this is the UI of the app. So at any point, you can take a screenshot. So when I ask AI to go build me a login screen, it doesn't need to guess. It can actually see the app that it's running, take a screenshot. And then I can ask it to go click on that particular button. I can ask it to, type in some text in a text box. I can ask for, like, look at the visual tree, tell me where you see this combo box. So those are the type of things. And so we like saying, like, we are giving AI, eyes and hands, which means, like, see the app and, interact with the app, and don't just stop based on, your initial pass of what I asked you to do. Why don't you go back and verify that what you did is really what I asked for? So that's where you have the AI agents, iterate, because it now sees that it has these tools, and they're like, okay, we built your login page, but let me go actually verify if what I did is actually accurate. So this is, again, where, the power of MCPs comes in, because, the platform that you're building for exposes these contextual tools, so AI agents can spin and, pull off what they're wanting to.
Interesting. I'm not sure what to
Good.
ask next.
Now, there's just so much, and everything is just evolving very, very quickly, right? So, like, we see teams, a lot of what, like you mentioned, GitHub Copilot, it's about putting up those guardrails, right? So when you see AI make mistakes or do things that are not quite the way you would like it to, we like saying, like, document that and put it in what's called like an instructions file. So that way, GitHub Copilot always reads, like, do not ever name my variables like this. Do not, do this. Do not, or, always write your functions like this. So that's more like your coding standard, your instructions that, GitHub Copilot or any other agent always reads before it actually does things. Now, in MCP, like I said, those are specific tools. We are also seeing the advent of what are called agent skills. A skill is essentially, like, instead of you having to memorize an entire cookbook, what if I gave you, like, a single card, like, here's how you make, pasta, right?
Okay.
So then the AI agents doesn't need to memorize or know exactly what is needed to make you a nice pasta. It can actually have a recipe card, so it can look up the steps. Like, I need to do all of these 5 things for you to have a good dinner, and then I'm going to go off and do those things. So, people can come up with their own skills, again, write it up, or, platforms or specific, things that you're working with. They will already, or maybe they're working on things, but you can, think of skills and instructions as additional things you give to AI. All
Give
of
me an
it.
example in the context of the coding agent like this.
Oh yeah, sure. So let's just say you say, I need you to build a UI that polls a certain API, and I need a list of things. Like, super simple, right?
Okay.
So an instruction might be, I want you to make an HTTP call in this particular way, and I want you to name my variables in this particular way. That's instructions. Then a skill might be, anytime you are being asked to build up an UI, go check the docs, go check, the APIs that you're about to hit. And again, those are specific tools that are exposed by MCPs. And then the skill is essentially, go make an HTTP call, go check this API, check the response, see what you're getting. And then once you have something, create a data model out of it, and then create a UI with the mapping to the data model. So it's more like an instruction file. It's more like a planning, step to say, these are the 10 things I need you to do when I ask you to build a, piece of UI over a certain API.
I see. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. So things are, evolving really fast. We see, teams and individuals being super productive, where, you combine all of that. And what if you start treating AI agents as a peer programmer, as another, person on your team? Then they can get to work while you are sleeping, because they can have that autonomy. They have the guardrails, so they know that they're not going to go off the rails. But then it's, a human who does the pull request verification to make sure, like,
Right.
the code that was there works. And you can also have, agents run unit tests. You can have agents run, UI tests to make sure everything is verifiable. So again, this is where the MCP context comes in. This is where the skills come in. Put them all together, and you can have almost like a clone of yourself who's, working away. It's going to cost you, tokens and money, but it's going to make you very, very productive.
All right. Before we go, just tell me a little bit about Uno. How do people learn about it? Is it how do they buy it or retrieve it, or
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. So, Uno Platform, we think, is the most flexible. It's an open source stack for building modern cross-platform .NET apps. Everything starts out at platform.uno. That's just the website from where you get everything. So all of the framework details as to how we build things, you have a choice of native UI. So your UI could look like what iOS or Android or Windows looks like, or you can do Skia. Skia is a fantastic graphics library, so we can make your app look consistent across all the platforms. So it's very easy to get started. A simple command line essentially gets you all the SDKs. And then we like saying, like, we don't care what OS that you're on. So Windows, Mac OS, Linux, you can build this anywhere. We don't care what IDE that you use. Visual Studio, VS Code, Rider, everything is welcome. And also your choice of AI agent. So use GitHub Copilot or Cursor or Claude or Codex or anything. Right? So we are really agnostic. But that's your starting point. On top of that solid foundation, we have built up some nice developer, productivity tools. That's called Uno Platform Studio. That has a lot of, design tools in it. That has a lot of AI tooling in it. So all of it is just geared to, make developers more productive. And everything starts at platform.uno.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sam. I've learned a lot today. And I don't know if you know about this, but I'm in Chicago and you're in Pennsylvania, and this freezing cold weather is heading your way. So
I know. And yeah, it's the nature of where we live. Late January, what else do we expect? Just shoveling a lot of snow each morning.
It's going to get worse in the next few days.
Yeah, it's going to get really cold.
So you stay safe and stay warm, and have a great day.
Thank you so much for having me. AI and developers can be really good friends, but it helps to know the technology so we can have the right guardrails and we can have AI help us the way we want to be helped.